Hello again. This is Anthony Pensa on the Love Wisdom podcast. I'm sorry for not recording for the past 3 weeks, close to a month now. A lot of it's been an issue with me personally because of work. I do work 7 days a week and I have 2 jobs, so that is a problem. Now, to continue on with this video, nature versus reality. We see ourselves in this world every day and we wonder what it is exactly that defines us as human beings. Now, what we have to really think about is this idea of nature and this idea of reality. What establishes us as human beings? Now, I want to use this analogy to a book that I actually read recently called Alice in Wonderland. I'm sure you guys have heard it, by Lewis Carroll. And it talks about this idea of jumping through the rabbit hole. And Alice in the book, she's this little girl who lives in, I believe it's Australia or New Zealand, she mentions, and she goes and she follows a white rabbit, and this white rabbit takes her into a hole, and this hole takes her into another world known as Wonderland. And here Alice starts to experience all these amazing new things, right? And she comes across this one particular character in her adventure who is named as the Cheshire Cat. And I want to speak more about that particularly, but she also sees the Queen and other people in the book. Highly recommend reading it. This is not an endorsement of the book, but this is only a use of the visuals. So I will say though that when Alice does get there and she does go into Wonderland, she begins to experience a whole nother reality outside of her own reality from where she is from. Now, I think the same example, the same analogy applies really well in people's lives, even though it's a children's story, because it deals with the fact that human beings, our reality changes. We go into this rabbit hole of life, and we don't see reality for what it really is. And our reality, or at least the reality of which we assume it to be, is so much far different than what it actually is, right? And we live our lives every day. We go to work, and we live in an environment to where we think we are satisfied and we have the joys and concerns of, right, our friends, families, our personal lives, and our hobbies, but we don't actually think about being in tune with nature and being a part of the world in which we live in. Now, we think of reality for many people, and there's many perceptions of this, it's just a state of being, a state of existence, right? But when we take into the idea of the metaphysics behind it, we have to consider the idea of what it is metaphysics, which is the concept that there's things that exist outside of us, the things that we are, what is the meaning and the purpose of life. We talk about space and time and other concepts that defines what it is that exists beyond the physical world. So we have meta, which is a Greek word, which means beyond physics or above physics, right? Like metaphysics, or we also have meta logic in philosophy, and we have other forms of meta studies. But in this particular case, when we talk about metaphysics, we talk about our reality, the physical world we live in. We don't actually think about the purpose and the meaning behind where we exist. For many people, it's just to just go about their life. They don't actually question or think about the deeper meaning of this rabbit hole, like with Alice, to enter in and to see the world and see the mysteries of the reality of which we live in the universe. Now, I do want to say though that despite all that, there is a major concern with regards to how people actually go about understanding their purpose and meaning in life. Just like Alice had entered into the rabbit hole, she had ventured into another reality out of curiosity, but people actually don't take that step many times to see what their reality will lead them. They don't actually go out and see the world and see the existence of nature itself for what we know is to be true. But when we take this into consideration, we oftentimes think that in similar situations and similar grounds in the environment, there are places where we can actually be in tune with the nature, but it's only in places where people actually consider, right, tourist destinations. But I do want to say that there is a big distinction between the world we live in, right, the reality, and our mindset. What do I mean by that? Well, the world we live in, we exist in the world, we exist in nature, but there's also the reality which we've created as man. We've created our own plots of land. As you can see behind me, we can see apartment complexes, you can see trees, you can see the earth. And you can see how man has manipulated the environment to create their own reality around them. Now, people are willing to embrace a subset of reality, but oftentimes they're not willing to embrace reality or the nature of the world of which exists. An idea of naturalism, which is a man existing in nature and being a part of nature. But we have manipulated the environment in such a way that these situations have arisen because of it. Right? I'm sorry for the background noise. In addition to this environment, I am in the back of a field, as you can tell. But I do want to say, though, that there's oftentimes deeper sub-realities within our own reality that we don't take into consideration. And it's important that we question our nature of our reality and question ourselves as human beings. I also want to mention lastly in this video that I am still looking for interviews too. If you guys do know anyone who is looking to interview people who are curious about philosophy, who like to talk about different ideas associated with what they like and the meaning behind it, they can message me below on this comment on my channel. I believe it is on this side, on the Love of Wisdom here on this podcast. If not, they like to add discussion to this. Please only positive discussions, positive comments. I'm not actually here to condone people and their behavior. I'm just here to record and give people information and make the world a better place in my own way here on YouTube, on this medium. But I do want to mention though that there is a lot of backlash that I have received from my previous videos. People have commented and telling me about my equipment. I am actually working towards investing towards better equipment and better usage of that equipment, but I need support from people here on YouTube and their ideas as to what I should actually post on this video. With that being said, I want to thank you all, for watching this video. I know it is short, I understand that, but I also need to know more feedback from you guys. This is more of an informational video on this subtopic and what you guys want to listen to on future videos. So if you guys have any questions, again, please comments, concerns, topics, ideas. I will cover them at length, but thank you again. And just to give you guys a recap, today we covered a little bit about metaphysics and reality, and the title of the video, Metaphysics versus Reality, how to distinguish the two. This talks about the idea of the real world versus the world that we've created and how to establish ourselves in that world. And I use the example of the Cheshire Cat. I use the example of Alice in Wonderland, where she was from. I use the example of the background here in this video of where I am in this park with the trees and the apartments behind me, as well as the grass area. I also use the example of the reality of the world we lived in, and I talked about other topics associated with metaphysics and its meaning in our lives. Now, thank you all for watching my video, and I hope you guys have a beautiful day.